All right, let's talk about the engine that powers some of the biggest, most influential companies on the planet. I'm talking about Salesforce, Slack, you name it. We're going to dive deep into the SaaS business model and really unpack how its recurring revenue flywheel actually works.
And look, that's not just some fancy quote. It's a fact. Software as a service, or SaaS, generates more predictable recurring revenue than any other business model out there. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that is.
So first things first, what even is SaaS? At its heart, it's a huge shift in how software is sold. We're moving away from that old model of a one-time sale to an ongoing subscription.
So yeah, SaaS stands for Software as a Service. And the idea? It's actually incredibly simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Instead of a customer paying, say, $500 up front for your software, they pay a smaller recurring fee, maybe monthly, maybe annually, to just access it.
The best way to think about this is to compare buying an old DVD to having a Netflix subscription. With the DVD, it's one and done. You pay, you get the product, the company gets paid once. But with Netflix, it's a smaller recurring payment that creates a continuous stream of revenue. SaaS just applies that exact same logic to software.
Now, this entire recurring model is powered by one single crucial metric. It's the engine for all SaaS growth. And we're talking about monthly recurring revenue, or MRR.
So MRR is just what it sounds like, the total amount of subscription revenue a business can predictably expect to bring in every single month. And that word, predictable, that's the absolute key. Unlike a freelancer or a retail shop that basically starts at zero every month, a SaaS business knows it has a baseline of revenue coming in no matter what.
So let's walk through a super simple example. In month 1, let's say you get 10 customers paying $49 a month. That's $490 in MRR. Great, but the magic happens in month 2. When you add 10 times more customers, you don't start over. You build on what you already have. Your MRR jumps to $980. And in month 3, you add 10 more. And boom, it climbs again to over $1,400. It just keeps accumulating.
And what's so cool about this visual is you can really see that accumulation. Your revenue isn't just a series of one-off sales. It's a compounding asset. Every single month builds directly on the success of the last one. It's like you're building a snowball of cash that just gets bigger as it rolls downhill.
Okay, so if MRR is the engine, how do you know if it's actually running well? Well, the health of any SaaS business can pretty much be measured with a simple dashboard of just 5 key metrics.
These are the 5 numbers that really tell the whole story. You've got your revenue, both monthly and annually, that's MRR and ARR. You've got churn, which is basically the percentage of customers who cancel. And then you have the 2 most critical growth metrics, customer acquisition cost, or CAC, and lifetime value, or LTV.
And when you put it all together in a dashboard like this, it's fantastic because it gives you a complete picture. You can see how your monthly revenue, MRR, becomes your annual revenue, ARR, just by multiplying by 12. You see your churn rate, how much it costs you to get a single customer, and, so critically, how much that customer is worth to you over their entire lifetime.
But out of all these numbers, there is one simple rule of thumb, one golden rule that determines whether a SaaS business is actually viable for the long run.
And here it is. The crucial point is the ratio of your lifetime value to your customer acquisition cost. The industry benchmark, the gold standard, is 3-to-1. That means for every single dollar you spend to get a new customer, you absolutely have to be generating at least $3 back from them over time. If that ratio is off, your business model is probably broken.
Now, besides that predictable revenue, there's another reason this model is just so powerful. It's incredibly efficient and wildly profitable. Okay, this is where SaaS just completely pulls away from traditional businesses. Think about a physical product. You have costs for manufacturing, shipping, storing it in a warehouse, right? You're left with maybe 20 to 40% gross margins. With SaaS, the product is just code. It's built once and delivered digitally an infinite number of times. Your main costs are just servers and payment processing, which are tiny.
And that leads to absolutely mind-blowing margins. The median gross margin for SaaS companies is 78%. Let that sink in. For every dollar that comes in, 78 cents is gross profit. This high-margin, recurring revenue model is exactly why these companies are valued so highly by investors.
But the efficiency doesn't even stop at the margins. Another huge, game-changing advantage is that SaaS fundamentally breaks the traditional link between revenue growth and hiring more people.
Just look at this. Because the software handles all the delivery automatically, you can serve 100 customers with maybe one person. But you can serve 1,000 customers with pretty much the same effort and the same infrastructure. Your revenue can scale exponentially while your team size barely grows at all. The software is doing all the heavy lifting for you.
So what happens when you combine that predictable revenue, those high margins, and that scalable delivery all together? Well, over time, you create this incredibly powerful self-reinforcing growth engine.
And this right here is the SaaS flywheel. You acquire customers, which generates that beautiful MRR. You then reinvest that predictable cash back into growing the business and making the product even better. A better product attracts more customers, which generates even more MRR, and the cycle just repeats, spinning faster and faster and faster.
And this isn't just theory, okay? Here's a real-world example. With a simple $49 a month plan, if you just add 15 new customers a month and lose about 5% to churn, you go from around $700 in MRR in month 1 to over $5,300 a month by the end of the year. That's more than $64,000 in annual recurring revenue, all built from small, consistent gains.
So all of this leads to a really important question. If this model is so powerful, so efficient, so profitable, why isn't everybody doing it?
And the answer, until pretty recently, was that there was this massive barrier to entry. You either had to be a really skilled software engineer, or you had to have tens of thousands of dollars to go hire one. Building software was just way too expensive and time-consuming, and that locked almost everybody out.
And this really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. For decades, this incredibly powerful model was locked behind that huge wall. You had to know how to code. But that wall is finally coming down. New advances in AI and no-code tools are making it possible for literally anyone to build and launch their own software. And what that means is, for the first time ever, the most profitable, scalable business model on the internet is no longer just for engineers. It's becoming accessible to everyone.